already said this is the LHK conversation. We just talked for like about 15 minutes about church and old stuff. But the topic tonight is bridging the gap, cultivating empathy in a stressful world. So Jamual was saying his topic was, this is his topic. So the lack of empathy for one another and us being hard on each other, whether it be in relationships, work-related solution, and what is the solution on combat and that the certain systems that stress us out. So there's always a lesson in every conversation for the LHK conversation. So empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. So, I'm pretty sure everybody knows, but for people who don't know that. But, Jamal, I'll let you take it away.
Also, there's a difference between empathy and sympathy, if Jamal wants to tell us about that.
Yes, definitely. There is a difference. And you know what's so funny? Before you go, I had people used like a while, way back. I was like, why does everybody keep saying that they empathize with me? And I'm like, why do you have sympathy for me? But then I realized the difference, between the two. So now when someone says something to me and I haven't gone through it or didn't go through it or don't understand what they're feeling, now I know how to say I empathize with them instead of saying I'm having sympathy for them. So that's just a lesson for anybody who doesn't know what the meaning is. But take it away, boss. Take it away.
So, I know we text earlier in the day during our work. If you're not working or whatever, we talk briefly about what we're going to talk about. And the stressors we deal with when it comes to work related or when it comes to each other, like we're too hard on each other.
Yes.
We don't have enough empathy for each other, I believe. And if you notice, that's why things are trickling down slowly, whether it be us getting married, whether the families not combining, back in the day where we all used to get together, like you have even family reunions are died out. You understand what I'm saying? And I just feel like it's all due to, what's going on, part of it with the economy and part of it, with ourselves and, having these little petty debates about either who makes more or who does more or who's the one in the family that is the breadwinner or who's the one that's, not doing what they're supposed to do instead of, leaning and helping one another. You understand what I'm saying? I feel like, we focus too much on our negatives and our family instead of finding solutions to the problems. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Right. So, I think now is the time to where, this could be individual, this could be for us right now, but it's for everybody. I feel like, we're talking about this, I'm sure we brought it up in the past, but I think now is the time to really, act on it. You understand what I'm saying? Is because it's not easy. Things are just getting harder and relationships are just, seems like things are just fading away. Marriage rates have dropped. Birth rates are dropping. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
There's just so much going on right now, unfortunately. And, again, I feel like some of us, I feel like in our small circle right now, I feel like we're doing the work. I truly believe that. And I feel like, we get on here and whoever listens to this message, I feel like they grasp it. And I feel like, they kind of reflect. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
So
I feel like that as well. There's so much. I think that as more
right.
we come along, like in the past, money has been the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think that, we all want to get money. I think the more pressure it is for us to get money, the more we lose empathy, sympathy, humanity, compassion, our morals, all of that. It's like we're chasing the money, but we're leaving everything that's important behind us.
Right.
And so when we speak to one another, we don't have compassion. I know when I was in school, my teacher was telling me that one of the things you do in healthcare is she wanted to teach us to bring back humanity and compassion in the healthcare because we lost a lot of that,
Yeah.
especially during the pandemic. It was trickling away. It was definitely trickling away. But at that moment, it's like nobody cares. We're just in it to get a paycheck. And it's not the fact that this person is sick in this hospital for a reason. No one wants to wait. No one wakes up in the morning and says, you know what? Today I choose sickness.
Right.
So it's like they go and they get sick and we walk in the room, especially healthcare providers, you'll have a nasty nurse, you'll have a nasty PCA, you'll have a nasty phlebotomist, you'll have a doctor that comes in and just looks at your chart and goes out and orders medication. They don't come in and say, you know what, how are you doing today? How are you feeling? What's going on? I know I read your chart, but talk to me. And take that couple of seconds to get to know that person. No one's saying you got to be best friends. You don't have to go to the bar or have tea or play chess or whatever the case may be after they come out. But just understand, healthcare providers get a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if I was a doctor, for that one visit, I could get $15,000. I'm pretty sure it's more than that. But you get one visit and you go in there and then it's like, you talk to me for 2 seconds for $15,000 and you didn't even look me in my face. So my teacher kept pressing me, huh?
But you know what? I think it's a reflection of the system. Because, like, say, for instance, when I was in high school, I used to work in Nyack Hospital and I used to work in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. But there were like levels of different people who are there to help you. Like, there were people that would come and give the different patients a bath. There would be other people, who had different jobs and functions as far as keeping the room clean and whatever. But now I feel like when you go to the hospital, so many responsibilities have just put on the nurse. Like, there's no like nurse's aide, or there are very few nurse's aides. And then one nurse, instead of maybe having 3 patients or 4 patients, she has so much more. And they're expecting her to do just like everything. And I think because, they do make a nice amount of money, but their quality of life may not really be that great because of the hours and the shifts that they work. And then they have so many people's relatives coming and yelling at them like it's their fault that their, mother or father or loved one is not doing well. And then you want to argue, well, I called you 10 minutes ago, I had to go to the bathroom, but she has 6 patients and they're expecting her to help feed and do this and do that. I mean, they're asking her to do the impossible. And then when it comes time for her to do contract negotiations, they don't want to respect what she has to do. They don't respect the increased workload. And like you said, the doctor comes in, 5 minutes, he's making the big money. She's not making any of that, and she's making most of the decisions.
Right.
So they're angry, and then that kind of trickles back down to you and your loved one. I mean, before, when you used to go to the hospital, they used to sponge bath you every day. Now, if you get a sponge bath once every 3 days, you're lucky. If you don't have somebody that loves you to come and wash you, you won't get washed.
Yeah, I see that. I see that more in the nursing homes because I worked at the nursing home as well. I see that more in the nursing home. I see, there's one lady, her daughter dropped her off there, and she was like, "I haven't seen my daughter," and I'm like, "I didn't even know she had a daughter," and I had been there 6 months at that point. And she was like, "I haven't seen my daughter," and she said, "You know what? She makes me sick." And I was like, "Well, why?" She was like, she just wanted my money and they sold my house and put me in here and she doesn't even come and see me. Right. And I'm like, I feel like I understand, some people are bitter because of their childhood, the way they grew up, but to leave somebody in a nursing home, when you go into a nursing home 9 times out of 10, if it's not physical therapy, that's the last stop before you pass. And I feel like people go faster because of the fact that they don't have anybody there. They start to lose hope. And when you start to lose hope, you start to not care about life. You don't want to live anymore.
Right.
And so I think with me and what my teacher was trying to say to me was to make sure, like, when you go into the healthcare, under the healthcare career, make sure that you care or feel, excuse me, make sure you care about the person. Treat them how you want to be treated. If you were laying in that bed, would you accept yourself coming in there talking to you like that? You wouldn't. You would want you would want somebody to say, hey, Miss Adams, how you doing today? Can I help you with anything? Are you all right? Not, Miss Adams, I'm just gonna draw your blood, hold your arms out. You know what I mean? Let me put this tourniquet on you and then squeeze you to death and stick you real hard and then draw my blood and walk out and close your door. That's what they're doing now. So I think it's very important to really understand and really have empathy for people like that.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely.
You know what I think is a problem with empathy? Problem with empathy, and I think we've touched on it a couple of times without really touching on it, is money has become more important than people.
Yep.
People go into these helping professions not because they want to help, but because nurses make a lot of money.
Right.
You go into the being a lawyer not because you really care about people, but because you want to make money. And some of the professions people go into because they do care about people, like social work and all that, where you're like, okay, I'm not going to make a lot of money, but I'm going to help a lot of people. They treat you so bad there that you're like, oh, was this really the right choice for me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You were going to say Aola? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say my grandmother became a nurse. Actually, she left school at the age of 12 and went to BOCES and became a nurse in her late 20s after she had her children. And she worked at a nursing home here in the county that she retired from. And actually, when she got sick and passed away in December 2022, she was back at the nursing home she retired from. So a lot of the staff there knew her. And it's crazy because there was days when they didn't have a nursing supervisor on staff or whatever. And my grandmother just put an LPN. She wasn't an RN, she was LPN, but she was the nurse. She was a nurse, the charge nurse for the day for the facility. And when I say her care was like horrible, like I walked in one day and she was in tears and she hadn't been dressed yet. It was 3:00. She was in her own mess. And this is a woman, when I tell you she worked 6 days every other week, Monday through whatever, her only day off was Friday. And then every other weekend. And, these people knew her. And it's crazy because they didn't have that same, the way they wouldn't want their parent or loved one treated, And I had to tell them, like, my grandmother gave her life. You guys worked with her for like 30, 40 years. And you just let her sit here like this. Like, we're talking about a woman that still had her whole mind function, who knew, and all she could do was cry. And I wanted to bring her home so bad, but she couldn't come home. And I think my grandmother taught me a long time ago. Both my grandmothers worked in the nursing home field. Both of them were nurses. And they taught me a long time ago, just treat people how you would want to be treated. And I have one of my kids say I have that face that, like, when you're in the store, old people gravitate towards you. Oh, can you reach this for me? And then they tell you their whole life story.
Right.
And I stand there and I just listen because you don't know who they have to listen to at home. I worked at the same nursing home when I first moved here. And when I tell you I learned so much, I can still remember this one woman. She was 101 years old. And her name was Frida Picard. And she was from France. And I used to hold her hand when we used to walk her down to the barbecue. And she would just rub my hand. And she said, your hands are so soft. They're so smooth. And I had my son when I worked there. And when I tell you I took him in to see them after he's about almost 2 months old. The nurses and the aides were so mad with me. Why would I bring my baby to these old people? This is 1993. This is not pandemic. This is not nothing. But why would I bring my baby? I said, because half of them, their family doesn't come see them.
Right.
And the light and the joy they had from seeing my son once a week, I would never take that from them. I got advice from them. I heard about their parenting. People don't understand. It just takes 5 minutes, not even 2 seconds of compassion Taika knows I was in the hospital 2 nights ago. I was having severe chest pain. I didn't know what was going on, and a terrible headache I couldn't get rid of. And I have a family history of heart disease, and I went to the hospital. When I tell you the nurse, I thank God for the nurse I had. I had two nurses, a male and a female, both very attentive. The doctor came in. She was like, I think if I am right, she was the only doctor for that whole emergency room in Good Samaritan room. Okay. And she came in twice and spoke to me twice. And people say, oh, only twice, but twice when you have every room filled and the hallway filled, twice is a lot. And she asked me, what's going on? How are you feeling? I don't take that stuff lightly because, like she said, people don't do that anymore. People don't say, how are you? People can barely say good morning. I can't tell you how many times I say good morning and no one responds, you know? Yep. And then when you show empathy, when people people don't show empathy, then comes the judgment. Oh my God, here she going through that again. Here, you know, like it's just we can't like. I hate people that say, "Oh, I would never." You don't know because you ain't been there. So don't say you never. Just thank God you haven't been there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we just don't give each other time, grace, nothing.
That's true.
You know what? They see you going through it and it's like nothing to them. But then when they got to go through it, now they understand. Now they want to call you for advice like, oh, you went through this and, you know, oh, it's so hard. It's like, yeah, it was hard for me, but you didn't care about how hard it was for me until it was your issue. Like even with me being a widow, there were people when I became a widow who treated me horribly, and I do mean horribly. And you know, I take it to the equivalent of it was like they was kicking me in the back all the time because I was already going through a lot. Now, a couple of years later, now you're a widow and you're like, oh, it's so hard being a widow. And you know, I try to take the high road and I'm like, okay, you know, I'm praying for you, you know, God's with you. But at the end of the day, I'm like, when it was me, I didn't get no compassion.
Right. So, I know, like, but you know what? Not only that, you said something, Jamal, when you were saying about family as well. When we talk all parts of, you know, empathy and bridging the gap, you are like, who makes the most money in the family? That's who we're gonna respect. The person that makes the least amount in the family, that's who we're gonna disrespect. You understand? And it's like,
crazy as it sounds, yep.
Yeah, exactly. But you're respecting the person that has the most family, the money in the family, and they don't give two shits about you. And the person that's supposedly at the bottom of the family that doesn't make money cares about everybody. You understand? Doesn't want to see anybody go without. They're that family member that you can go to if you don't have a shirt to put on your back. You understand? They'll give you the shirt off your back. If you don't have food, right? They give you your last. You come in and you have food and they're like, oh man, I'm hungry. And even though, you know, you fed everybody else, and then you say, you know what? I could go without eating tonight. I don't know what this person ate. You understand what I'm saying? Like there's so much lack of empathy in this world on all parts, from work, relationships to everything. Just it's everything, you know?
Right.
Like your personal stressors, like health issues, you know, things like that, you know, like it's just so much. And where I think, and everybody says, don't say that, don't always put us down. But in our community, we really lack that. A lot, I'm not going to say everybody, but I feel like a lot in our community. And then there's others outside of our community that judge us and have lack of empathy as well. So, I mean, I feel like we get it from so many different angles. I don't know. What do you think, Jamal?
I don't think it's our whole community. I think it's your family root and how you were raised. Because I just got back from California from being with my family. We had to bury my uncle. and we all needed to chip in. We didn't do a GoFundMe. It was going to be tight, but hey, there's a bunch of us. Everybody, we're going to need whoever can put in more, put in more. If you don't have anything to put in, okay, that's good, that's fine. But as a family, we're going to stand together and we're going to bury our loved one and we're going to show respect. But we also, I come from a family where my mother was one of 11 and they were raised from young. The older ones would go to work. My mother was one of the middle ones. So she had the responsibility of taking care of all the kids beneath her. And the whole thought was, as a family, we have to make it together. And so we still have that mindset that as a family, we have to make it together. If you can go out and make more money than the rest of us, it's still supposed to collectively help us all. If you really don't have the skills or the resources, or you don't have a great job right now, but grandma is sick, so you come and help grandma, and the rest of us is going to hold you down. And that's just how my family operates. And we're always saying, like, as our family name, we're just like we're the Rands and we stick together and we come from good stock. But that has to be implanted in your family from the root of it. Somebody has to say that we all have the same genes, we all have the same genetics. You're not better than me just because you make more than me, because we all the same. We all kin. And if you start off a family with, oh, I like you better because you light skinned, I like you better because you have nicer hair, I like you better because I liked your father better than her father, you start that nonsense, then you're going to have division. You're not going to have empathy because love is not shared freely. When love is not shared freely and people feel like they got a vibe for it, then anything could happen in the family. And then that's when you're like, oh, well, she didn't love me, so I'm going to do this, this, and that. I think that was in Black Panther. They were saying, like, if you deny someone love or you deny somebody access, when they come back, they're going to burn down the whole village. And I feel like when you don't give kids their proper love, when you pick and choose one of the over the other, when you don't say, hey, you're brothers and sisters, we don't fight amongst each other, we love each other. If you don't raise kids like that, then you raise individuals who have no empathy for anybody, because they're like, well, I was starved of love and I don't care about anybody else. And that's how they live their life.
Correct. So now to that point, and to piggyback off of all of what you said, that was a lot. That was heavy. And the whole thing with Black Panther, it all makes sense because now we're talking about, it's a Marvel movie. However, that idea still exists. If you really watch the movie, what happened? The kid was left behind. You understand what I'm saying? His father was from Wakanda, technically Africa. But the issue was that, he felt like, listen, he's an American African, which kind of separates us. This is a whole nother issue. You understand what I'm saying? And that, again, this is what happened to us during the slave trades and things like that. If we want to delve into there, again, Black Americans have one of the unique, um, uh, terrible things have done to us. You understand there has been no other race that's gone through what we've gone through. No other race. It's been proven. The study has been proven. But this is why I say we have a harder time trying to get out of it. You understand what I mean? Now, I will say a lot of us are coming around. You understand what I'm saying? Some of us may not, but a lot of us are coming around. You can see it in different areas, whether you follow Until Freedom, which is my son and Tamika Mallory's movement, whether you follow, the stuff I send you, Dr. Boyce Watkins, and other Dr. Claude Anderson. You know what I'm saying? If you follow these guys have done the research. These guys sit down. You know what I'm saying? These guys are actually trying to help. And you know what I mean? And there's a lot of family members that, keen to that. You know what I'm saying? Me, one of them. You understand? It's like I said before, we may all not make it, but I feel like a lot of us are, and
Right.
that's just what's going to have to happen. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm okay with that. But again, it's just like it's another issue. We shouldn't separate ourselves from our brother and sister because of a mishap or it was a bad miscommunication, especially when something like that, the whole Black Panther movie that's what it was about. It was just about a totally two different ideologies. Killmonger, his ideology was, well, you guys got all the weapons and, you're sitting on the island. You don't know what's going on over here to your brother and sister in the Americas and the diaspora. You understand what I'm saying? Was he right about going over there and doing that? No, that's not how you handle that. You should handle that accordingly. There's a different way and there's a different code of conduct on how to handle that. But again, this goes back to the whole Jim Crow, the killing of Malcolm, the killing of Dr. King, you understand? Fred Hampton, they didn't took out all our leaders. Think about that. That then on top of that, then drop the crack off in the neighborhood, then the segregation, then the fair, all of that plays a part into what's going on today. I don't, like I said before, we could sit up here and we could say it doesn't, but it does. And you know what I'm saying? And I think right now we're starting to be more aware of that now. You understand what I mean? And I feel like, again, the group that we have now, we address that and we recognize, you know what I'm saying, when there's something wrong. We understand what I'm saying? And when people see that, they're like, oh shit, I didn't really think of that. When they watch these conversations, they're like, you know what? I need to think about how I talk to my family member or how I talk to a person that looks like me. You understand what I'm saying? I should wake up and say hi or hello, how you doing? You know what I mean? Or when I go into a workplace and a person that look like me, I should show some empathy to sum it all up. You understand what I mean?
When you say that, I mean, Southern people, I don't know, because I have a Southern background. I don't know about New York people, but Southern people, you don't look another Black person in the face and don't smile and greet them. You just don't do it.
That's a rule.
When you lock eyes with another Black person, how you doing? You nod your head, you show respect, and mutual respect. And I think down south, it was like we didn't get respect from other people, so we knew we had to show it to each other.
But
I've never passed a Black person and not nod my head or say hello, how are you doing? Especially if they're older, how you doing? And if there's a way I can help them, if they're struggling, yeah, because those are my people. If I get a new Black coworker,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
I'm from down south also. I was there till I was 15. I went home not too long ago, and it's not like that anymore. The younger generation does not show that same respect as they used to show, or they were expected to show. I don't know where I feel what you're saying, Jamal, because I feel like they separated us way back when they brought us here. You had your house Negro and your field Negro.
Right.
You're light skinned and you're dark skinned, and it's always been like that. I get comments to this day about my skin tone. And it doesn't matter, because when the other people see me, I'm Black. Black is Black. Yeah. You know what I mean? Exactly. So I feel like they separated us a long time ago. And I also feel like empathy with our new generation, this younger generation coming up, is null and void. I have a 17-year-old and I listen to her talk sometime and I got to sit her down like, okay, so this girl's going through A, B, C, D at home and you know it. Why are you talking about it? You need to really sit down and thank God that you're not going through that.
That's true. However, like I said, the Gen Zs, you know what it is with them? It's because they got the TikToks. They are heavy on the social media, you know what I mean? And they're more, I think they're very sensitive. You understand what I'm saying? So, they're very sensitive. They are. So, and that's, again, and that's okay. It's like if we just sit them down and explain that to them and, in a different type of way, in a different type of tone. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying you got to be all buddy and things like that, but it's just different ways of trying to communicate with them. You understand?
Oh yeah, I'm very different with her. The way I talk to her compared to how I talk to my 31-year-old son is so different. I'm more tiptoe with her because she will fly off and shut down immediately.
Right, but in the end, but in the end, she'll see. You know what I mean? She'll come around,
and that's it. And that's the thing. Like sometimes, like I just said to her today, sometimes you have to catch the bees with the honey, sweetheart. Right. And sometimes I lay it on real thick, and my older kids are like, "Mom, you got soft in your old age. It's not got soft. I just have to treat each one of mine the way I know they will receive it."
Correct. Right. Exactly.
Different people are different, but I will say that you have to be sometimes the root or the genesis of the kindness. Because we could say that, all right, when I go down south, everybody's not smiling, everybody's not giving me the head nod or whatever, but are you bringing that to the table? Because once you do smile and give somebody the head nod or hello, good morning, how are you? Even if they're, the average person with the average amount of common sense, if you smile and say good morning, 90% of them will smile back. So I think we just have to be the root of it sometimes. And kids, they go through things, and some people, I'm not going to lie, some people, their temperament is to be a little on the nasty side. And that's something that you're going to try to work out of them as a parent, but that's their general temperament. But I do believe that anything you want to see in your children, you have to role model. If I want my children to have empathy, then they have to see me out in the world being a kind person, caring about other people, not thinking like I'm like if you're sitting around your kitchen table running down your alleged friends, talking about who got, who don't have, whose clothes look sloppy, who don't have the latest phone, or who don't have the nicest furniture. If your kids see you having those kind of conversations, then you're not going to be able to raise children that are empathetic. But if they see your kids see you, oh, so and so doesn't have, and they see you giving clothes, they see you giving food, they see you giving rides, they see you calling people to see how they're doing, then they think that's the norm, because that in their household, that's what they were raised to see. In my household, my parents were always people who would go and visit the sick. When when I was young, I tell the story a lot, but when I was young, there was a lady from the church that we knew. She was a double amputee. I was like 10, 11. My parents were sending me over to her house to help her clean up and vacuum and do all that. So it was instilled into me that we've got to give back. And that when you see people doing bad, you got to say, it's by the grace of God that I'm not in that situation. So whatever I can do to help you, whatever I can do to be a blessing, I'm going to do it, because what made me be healthy? This is nothing but the grace of God. It's nothing special that I did, that I don't have cancer, or I don't have diabetes, or mental health, or whatever. It's nothing that I did that made me so wonderful that I'm not in the position these other people are in. It's just grace and mercy.
Right, a form of servitude.
Yeah, you're right. So let's switch the gear a little bit. Still talking about the same subject, like the workplace. So this is the big one, and we only got 20 minutes, so 15 minutes.
This is a big one.
Good.
So
your mental health.
This is a big one. So you got to what causes the harshness in the workplace to where the empathy doesn't even sympathy, anything, any word that you can put that has any type of compassion towards one another in the workplace. It's oh man, it's crazy. You understand? Like, I don't even know what word I could possibly put to it. There's competition at work. Your boss always make it very competitive. You got At times you got people who want to excel and go to the next level, and they don't care how they cut you out. There's the workload. There's so many different things that we could just go into. But what do you feel like some of the stressors at work
you mentioned something about the root of it. A lot of times is management. They're supposed to make sure you have a work environment that is not hostile. So, and then just how I was talking about in families where there's picks and chooses and favorites, in the workplace, if you have picks and chooses and favorites, that this one could be on the phone, this one could be out of compliance with what we're allowed to wear to work, and you don't say nothing to them. And the minute you see me answering a phone call or responding to a text, you all down my throat. Now that's where the lack of empathy comes in. Or if you got people who are always running into the manager's office, call themselves telling on people all the time. Listen, I mean, I don't want to say snitches get stitches, but you can't keep running into the office and think that we're going to be friendly to you. We're not.
You know what? I mean, that too, but I think the reason why, and I might hit this on the nail on the hammer on the nail, or however the saying is.
Hammer on the nail.
Hammer on the nail, right? So that's a great point. But I thought about this, and I've been reading on some things, and I've been listening to some things as well, like different podcasts, different little shorts that they may have in the workplace. The reason why that person is the favorite, because that person is the weakest on the team when it comes to management. That's why that person is my favorite, because the person that's not my favorite, that is my biggest competition. So at that point, my ego steps in the place of me being a manager, and my feelings get in that place because I don't want you to get my job. So now you are the enemy at the workplace, because now my ego has stepped in, and my weakest link is my favorite person, because I don't have to worry about her coming for my job. The one that's sitting at her desk, or the one that is wherever, however you work, whether you work in an office, a warehouse, McDonald's, wherever you work. If you have the mindset of growth, you want to bring ideas to your company or bring uh, different processes, different procedures and processes to make the company better. It's the managers now and the company owners, they move in ego. They don't move in, maybe Jamal is telling me something about my company that I could do better. Let me research it and think about it and have a discussion with him, because the more he knows, the more it can help my company out, and the further we can go along, and we can be the best company out here for whatever field we in. Instead, Jamal's trying to take my place. How dare he have how dare he have an idea to make my business better? Who do he think he is? Coming in here thinking he's gonna tell me how to run my business, even though Jamal didn't come to me that way. Jamal came to me in a very respectful way and said, you know what, how about we make this better? You understand? And instead of me doing that, I'm taking it the wrong way. So my ego stepped in, and now I got a problem with you. And me and the weakest link is going to try to take you out and box you in and corner you in so that you're no longer a part of the team.
Right. So when it comes to that, again, this is why we need more family businesses to pull us away from that structure is because I feel like it's taking a toll on us mentally. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying 100% of us, but I said there's a lot of us that need to like start building family businesses. You understand what I mean? And we have to get our kids in that mindset so they won't go through these microaggressions at work, or they won't go through the tall tasks that are being handed to them and all the bullshit that comes with it. Because again, it's like I said before, how many of you, and I can ask you for right now, whoever else is watching, how many of you know of a white guy saying, I'm going to go work for a black man? Can any of you find somebody, a white guy, a white person that has said that, I'm going to go work for this black company?
Not me.
Right. So that raises a level of it kind of just, you understand what I'm saying? That's a problem. And this is what I'm talking about. So when we get into these companies, back to what you were saying, Taika, it's like now we're all fighting for Master, and we're all fighting for what's his name to be that number one person. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Knowing there's not a lot of positions that you're going to be up there, you'll be with. And when you're up there, forget it. It's easy to come back down. Easy.
Mm-hmm.
Saying? And again, it's just like, and I hate to put it that way, but it's the truth. Like I said before, this is why I'm a heavy proponent on trying to build businesses. You understand what I'm saying? And hiring people that look like us. So therefore, we could come together as a family and, not have to deal with working for Lowe's or working for a Home Depot. Or, even with me, I was working for these companies. You know what I'm saying? There's so many stories I can tell you where I had to put up with men that, you know what I mean, really didn't have my best interests. You know what I mean? To make the long story short, there was a guy that I had gotten into a dispute with when I had first got into plumbing. We're cool now, but however, the way he was coming at me was really disrespectful. You understand what I'm saying? And me growing up as a young black male, I was just getting yelled at left and right. That's where some of my anger has came from. You understand what I'm saying? And I had to recognize that. And I didn't recognize that until my late 20s. And that's when I started to like try to fix it, because it wasn't, a lot of it wasn't my fault. I didn't have, to be honest, my dad wasn't pulling me left and right or defending me, my honor in those situations. Why are you yelling at my son like that? You understand what I'm saying? Or these people, you know what I mean? I don't care, even if I'm 19 or 20. Like at the end of the day, if I'm explaining the story, like, why is this man yelling at me? Like, you know what I mean? You're not why are you talking to me like that? I'm here just to try to do a job and you yelling at me. You know what I'm saying? And when I got into plumbing, that's what happened. Very toxic field. Once you get with some of these companies as a male, and if you guys have any sons or nephew that's going to get into the field or the trades field, make sure they get with a person. I hate to say this, has their best interests at heart. You know what I mean? And that's not cursing them out and yelling at them and doing X, Y, and Z. Because this is what these guys do. They like to haze, they like to bully. And you know what I mean? I had almost, like I said, I had clocked out and I wanted to, shoot the pharaoh with the guy. And he got scared. And I told him, nah, you don't get scared now, because now you see the other side of me. And that's when they stop. Right. And this is what I'm saying. But it should have never got to that point. Right. We're at a work environment. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And this ties into all what we're saying, and it shouldn't be like that.
No. Do you feel like it was like what I was saying, like an ego thing? Like, I mean, men have egos, women have egos too, because I've seen it in my workplace. You know,
but again, that's been the field. That's just how it is. I'm telling you, like I said, I know on the men's side, you know what I mean? It is just like, oh, you do as I say. You understand what I'm saying? You're being, that's what it is. It's called hazing. That's the issue. You understand what I'm saying? And there's a lot of it that goes on that is not really talked about. You understand? Right. And bring it up to HR. They're going to be like, oh, well, you just got to make sure you get the job done. You got to be listening and things like that. Because somebody learns differently, you have to haze them. I don't believe in that. You understand what I'm saying? And that's why a lot of men are, lack of better words, fucked up today, is because they've been getting yelled at their whole damn life instead of getting things explained to them. Right. Cursing at them does not, you know what I mean? Get them to do what they got to do and do it right. You know what I mean? That's why half our men are fucked up now.
It makes them tough. I'm making you a man. That's still not true.
Right. Exactly. Bingo. I guess you guys can have the last parts.
I also feel like this. You need to, in the workplace or anywhere really, be in control of your emotions. You can never let somebody treat you like a puppet. When they want to make you upset, they make you upset. When they want to make you cry, they're going to make you cry. They know what buttons to press, when to press them, so that when they press that button, then you're in the middle of the office looking like a lunatic. So no, you have to be able to control your emotions. You have to know whatever field you're in, whatever it is you need to know, be the best at what you do, the best you could possibly do. Then also to know all the rules and regulations that back up your industry. So when they ask you to do stuff that you're not supposed to do, then you know what? Oh, we're not supposed to do this. And here are the reasons why. If there's a training, if there's OSHA, if there's a handbook, if there's a CPLR, know that. So when they ask you to do your contract, know your rights, know the grievance procedures. So when they start bringing you to the office and telling you crazy stuff, you're not just going off emotions. You're going off of, no, this is what my contract says. This is what the union says. Let me call my union representative. I've had times where, you know what, people higher up than me had no empathy when I was missing work because my husband was sick, and they was talking about me and my time and leave. I know my time and leave is not to be discussed by anybody but me and my supervisor. So when I sent them the email saying that my time and leave is not their concern, and I would thank them kindly to stop talking about it. Oh, they didn't like that because they thought because they had a higher position, they was going to talk to me any way that they want to. But what people need to know is I serve one God and I don't worship no man. So I don't really care what your title is. You a woman like I'm a woman. You a human like I'm a human. And you're not going to talk to me reckless. I'm going to hold my tongue as much as I can. But I'm also tell you, this is what the rule book says. You don't have a right to talk about me. My supervisor told me, oh, the lady's very upset with you. She's going to move you to White Plains. Ain't no way she's moving to White Plains. My husband's up the street dying, and you want to move me across the bridge? I told them I'll fight it. After I told them I'll fight it, I never heard another word from them. And they know me. They know when they come to me, you come to me right, because I'm going to come to you with the rules. And when you start bothering me, I'm going to bring back the same language you showed me in all those videos you made me watch. This feels like a hostile work environment. I feel like I'm being targeted. Oh, you throw a couple of those words around, they don't want that smoke. They're going to leave you alone.
You know what?
They like you, but they're going to leave you alone.
You know what? I feel like, you were right. You're right. And I feel like a lot of times in the workplace, like, you may know your rules, but the thing about it is HR has to be professional as well. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times HR is not professional. I've been in an HR position for a very long time, not in this current job that I'm at, but I've always been a boss, and I'm still a boss because I got my own business. But however, I think that when you go to these companies, they really need to, HR needs to be professional, because there are some companies where HR is not professional. And they need to learn how they think that because they're in this position, they dangle that dollar over your head, like that commercial when the guy had the dollar and he was making the person jump or whatever it was. Yep. And I think that's what it is right now. In this current time, they feel like a lot of businesses, they have replaced their morals and the policy and procedures with their ego and the lack of respect that they have for you, because they feel like because they're in this level of authority that they could dangle your job over you, and they play with
But what
people's
they
feelings.
also know is that there are employment lawyers out there. And just how you
Right.
want a paper trail on me, I got a paper trail on you. So when you send me something, I'm going to send you back an explanation. And we're going to keep this whole email trail going.
Yeah.
And I'll say hostile environment and keep responding to you. Just know when you put me out of here and I get the lawyer, you're going to owe me my salary and then some. And they know
Right.
that. They got to know
Yes.
that you mean business, but also too, you can't be late all the time. You can't be breaking policy. You can't
Yes.
be sloppy with your work, because when they know you're right on policy and procedure, they're going to get you on being late. They're going to get
Yep.
you on time and leave. So
Yep.
if you're going to be a fighter, if you're going to be standing your ground, make sure you're covering your own tail. Make sure
Yep.
that you, as much as within your policy, your power to do what's right. And when you catch other people doing wrong, document that too if you feel like they on your tail. Because if you
Yep.
sit me down, well, when you gonna sit the rest of them down? Because they was doing the same thing.
Right. Document. That's what I could say from an HR background. Like you said, Lisa, make sure that you have every email. And anybody that's listening that you may have a problem at your workplace, if they call you for something, make them put it in writing. If they say to you, you know what, we're going to do this week with you, and this is how it's going to go, whatever it is that they're saying to you, okay, I will recognize that when I have it in the email, when it's in writing. Okay, because a lot of the mistake that we make in the workplace is when your boss or HR says something to you and they don't put it in writing, that is the biggest mistake that you can make in the workplace, and you go along with what they say. Because at any given moment, they can say, I didn't say that.
But you know what? That's why you follow up with an email. As per
No,
our
I'm just saying for
earlier.
as per our conversation, you said, but I'm just saying for the people out here that don't know, because there's a lot of I hear a lot of workplace horror stories, and I'm hearing it more so now than I've ever heard before in my life. And it's like when I say, well, did you look up, for example, did you look up, certain laws in New York State when it comes to HR and what you can and cannot do? Because there's laws and procedures in the workplace, and then there's laws and procedures that New York State has in place that supersedes your job. And a lot of people don't know that because they don't do their research. They don't know the certain benefits and things that they have. Like they didn't know that New York State, you have sick leave when you first come on that job, 40 hours. Some of these companies are combining them in that gray area to not give you your sick time. You have 40 hours of sick time when you come to a job. You earn that. And then they can't hold you accountable for that because you are sick. Then there's your PTO. So back in the day, they used to have it all separated and stuff like that. But then New York came up with something different. But some of the companies still have that. This is your New York State sick time, which is 40 hours, and this is our PTO. You understand? Right. It goes beyond whatever job. If your job has less than 100 employees, you get 40 hours. If they have over 100 employees, then it's 56 hours. A lot of people don't know that. There's temporary family leave, there's family leave, there's paternity leave. Men have maternity leave as well, not paternity, maternity leave. There's so many things that
so terrible in America. It's not even, that's a whole nother situation. The maternity
it
leave.
Is, but that's
I get what you're saying.
Men don't know that they have that.
Right.
Men don't know that they have that. If your wife has a child and she's out for a certain 6 weeks or so, she comes back to work. You could take off that time too. You understand? People don't understand that because the workplace, first of all, you have a job. They're only going to tell you so much anyway because they don't want money to come out their pocket. They're only going to give you so much information anyway. It's your job to go research these things. People don't know that. And then you have somebody like myself who knows those things, who works in a workplace, and they say, and I say, excuse me? Now, now I'm a threat. Now I'm a threat.
Now they gotta
Now
get
I'm
rid of you.
Now I'm being hostile, but I'm coming with you very professional, like I always am. I put my best foot forward, and I work how I'm supposed to work. And it's like, okay, now you're a threat. Instead of you being my counterpart and giving me information because I'm ignorant to it, now it's like you're sitting across from me at the table, like, yeah, we're gonna get her.
Right.
And that's what I mean by HR needs to be professional all the way around. Like you said, Lisa, I got to keep my feelings under check, and they got to keep theirs, and they got to do theirs too.
You know, also too, when you mentioned something about having sick relatives, make sure you get that family leave packet in with all those little papers signed by the doctor, so then they can now say to you, oh, you missed X amount of days of work. Nah, I got my little family leave packet in. Y'all see that my relative, my mother, my sister, my child got all these things, and I'm the primary health caregiver. So you know what? So then they can't try to hem you up like, oh, you've been calling out sick a lot. Now you're on probation. No, I got my little family packet in. This lady that I work with, her husband had needed a heart transplant. And as soon as she saw I was struggling with my husband, she was like, here's a packet. Get the doctor to fill it out. These are little things we need to know.
Yes, and honestly, it's not the job's responsibility. Let me just drop this one. It's not the job's responsibility. They give you the packet. It's your responsibility to get all those documents in, and then some jobs make you submit it someplace else, and other jobs may help you fill it out and send it in. But it's your responsibility to put that in. Their job is to give you the information and you fill it out. And then once you fill it out, it's your responsibility to send it in. Right. A lot of people don't know that either. That's your responsibility. And then once they send it, because each job, even though they offer you insurance, the job has their own insurance. So you have to submit it to insurance, whether it's workers' comp, whether it's whatever it is, they have something where you submit it to the insurance company. And they'll tell you that. Everything's in the handbook. But, they have a 3,000 page handbook. No one wants to sit down and read all of that. But then when you have a problem, right? Then when you got a problem, you're like, wait, hold on.
Yep.
Can't read it at the last minute. You got to already know it.
Right.
You know what they say about us. If you they say if you want to hide something from us, put it in the book. So
right. That's a true. And you know what? That is so true.
Statement.
That is a true statement. You want to hide something from us, put it in a book and we won't read it. Right? And it's so true. You know how much reading I'm doing? I'm like, okay, wait, hold on a second. Did you say what? I think policy 56. And I'll put it in the email. You understand? And they don't like that. But you have to put it in the email to cover yourself.
Copy and paste.
Right. Copy and paste. Like as per mission statement as well. The mission statement says that. And then policy 6.2793 on page 56 says, you got to let them know that you're reading it. But before we go, Jamal, do you have anything? This was a good conversation. We might have to revisit some of this conversation next week because I know a lot of people didn't get a chance to get on. But, I still wanted to, with this topic before we go, I still wanted to talk about creating a supportive work environment for each other, encouraging each other vulnerability, openness, call to action, also the role of the systems in creating the stress. I mean, we kind of talked about that a little bit, like creating it. You talked about that, but then also understanding the causes of the harshness. That too, and being mindful,
right,
and also actively listening. There's a difference, I want to say, from selective listening to actively listening.
Actively listening, yes,
right, and definitely be mindful of what someone's saying to you. Definitely, guys, just want to say, like, have empathy for people, understand them, don't be quick to judge.
Right.
Don't, say this is what it is and this is how it's going to be. No, we don't want to do that. We want to have empathy, and if we can sympathize with somebody because we know what it is, or we've been through it already, then we can sympathize. But tying everything back to the workplace, to the healthcare, to relationships, all of that is definitely bridging the gaps.
Right.
You know? And we have to do a better job of bridging the gaps. We definitely, like you said, Jamal, the yelling at you as a Black man, as a Black boy, and then a lot of people might not have that aha moment that you have. Like, listen, I got to take a step back. I got to correct it. This is not how it's supposed to be. This is not how I was supposed to be. And so now I'm displaying that behavior.
Yes, exactly. It takes a toll, you know what I'm saying? And that's why, you have so much anger in the community now is because, like I said, if you've been around those aggressions and been being yelled at a young age constantly and constantly, you understand what I'm saying? That toll on you. And that's why I said, as I got older, I had to like really change that because it affected my relationships. You understand what I mean? And now that I'm better, and now that I know how to, to resolve and use my emotional intelligence lot better, I feel like I've progressed.
Right. And you helped me. And you know what? By you saying that also helped me as being a parent. Because like I said, I find myself when I get frustrated, and I'm gonna use Jaden as an example. When I get frustrated, I'm gone. You understand? I'm gone. And sometimes with the stress, like everything we talk about with the stressors of work and being a mom and figuring out what I'm gonna do this, how I'm gonna spend this, what bill I gotta pay, and then whatever's going on with school. And by the time everything is compacted together, I'm going off. And so I want to say thank you because now you saying it as a male helps me understand how I need to speak to Jaden. And sometimes it's like, I'm always like,
I
and
know.
Jaden's he's looking at me like,
yep.
It's like,
and they stop listening when you sound like Charlie Brown teacher them after a while.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, all right. So I see everybody, Tanya came on, and I see other people on Facebook. Guys, we might have a part 2 next week. Might. I'm not gonna hold to might. We might have a part 2 to this so we can get into a little bit more because we started a little late. But if not, me and Jamal have some really, really great topics because we talked throughout the week, and I definitely want to give him an opportunity to talk about I forget his name again, the gentleman that you sent me the YouTubes for.
Dr. Boyce Watkins.
Dr. Boyce Watkins. He is very insightful. So if you guys get a chance to look him up, watch his YouTubes, he goes in. He goes in and he breaks things down.
Breaks things down. And he said the reason why a lot of us are going through a lot of this stuff today, he breaks it down, fundamentally, and he tells you like, hey, these are the issues. And he's damn near right. And it's for the most part, he's right. And that's just what it is. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's like you have to be able to recognize that and decipher. You understand?
Right. Yeah. You want to keep having these conversations. And then maybe later on down the month, we'll have a fun topic. I don't know what fun topic we can talk about. Oh, okay. I'm thinking like maybe we can talk about something silly or something because we're super serious a lot. But I mean, we're very informative. So I wanted to like have a fun topic. I don't know what we could talk about for an hour that's fun other than,
There's a lot of fun topics we can talk about, I'm sure. Trust me.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys for coming on tonight. Facebook, Zoom, everybody. Patrick, I see you. I see a couple other people on watching. Thank you guys. This is the LHK Conversation. Co-host Jamal. Thank you, everybody, for coming on tonight. Lisa, Tanya, Patrick, and a couple other people. Aola, thank you for your input. We'll see you next week, Thursday at 8 p.m. sharp. Do not be late because we're not. I mean, we were late, but have a good night.
Blessings. Peace and blessings.
Good night, everybody.
Night.